meeting. If you want to go ahead and stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And Jill, just for clarification, I see the interpreters. Are they the only people here? And Erica. Okay. So I'm not going to do our whole Zoom spiel. People join, I will. Okay. Well, welcome everyone. Thank you for coming to our monthly board meeting. And let's see, introduction and announcements. So if you're here as a visitor and you want to sign into the visitor guest book, you sure can. And there is an agenda item further on in our meeting after all of our reports where there's an opportunity for people to address the board. So if you want to speak to the board for up to 3 minutes, you can do that and sign in the public forum. Sign up. Oh, I'm echoing. Sorry. We good, Christy? Okay. I don't need to be in stereo. And no announcements. All right. Presentations. Do we have someone from JFK Leadership here? Well, come on up, introduce yourself. And
I'm Julieta Torres. I'm representing leadership today. I'm senior class president, and some updates that I have is the first week of school went by great. The energy was amazing, and it was almost like everything was back to normal once again. And freshmen had data themselves, and this was very successful. We had leadership and older students who went in and came to help in with that. And students are just eager for Oktoberfest this week. We have many different volunteers. We have seniors who will be helping set up and take down, also with the info booth. And we have multiple sports teams having garbage cleanups. Also, we have people helping at the doorboy booth. So people will be very busy, especially students. And also leadership will also be taking out the trash and cleaning tables.
I was going to say, as part of leadership, you need to be in the wine garden and other gardens.
Exactly. And then some clubs have begun, but after OFES, this is when most clubs will begin. And football, so some sports updates is football beat last year's 3A's champs in Switzerland last week and are hosting Jefferson for this week's game. Volleyball got their first win last week and against Colton and will be traveling for some games this week. Cheer practice begins this week. Cross country is ramping up and we'll be having a host meet at Silver Falls on Wednesday. And boys, we finally have our own soccer team and they have a game today against Portland Christian, and girls soccer is playing Taft at Jervis today. And that is all.
Well, any questions or comments? Well done. Good report.
Thank you.
Nice to meet.
Thank you. Nice to meet you all.
Any agenda changes, Rachel? We're good. So I will field a motion to approve the agenda.
I approve the agenda. Sorry.
So Andy moves to approve the agenda. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Moved and seconded. Discussion. All in favor? Aye. All right. Passes unanimously. Consent items. Does anybody want something pulled from the consent items for any reason? All right. I will field a motion to approve the consent.
I move to approve the consent agenda as presented. Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Passes unanimously. Moving right along. So I don't see any of our union leadership here to give us any updates. So I'm going to assume we can move on to administrative reports. Starting with St. Mary's.
Did I take your spot? I don't think he cares. All right, so at St. Mary's, we've had a great start to the year. Similar feeling like things are back to normal and lots of happy faces and smiling kiddos and families. Our enrollment at the end of last year was 269 students. Actually, as of today, we're at 285. So we are definitely gaining enrollments, new students every day. So that is a great thing. We have, goodness, I think I wrote 6. I don't think on your list I added the 6th, but we have 6 new staff members at St. Mary's. Which is really exciting just to get some, fresh faces and continue to build that community with new staff members. So that is great. Some highlights so far, we had Meet the Teacher night during our in-service week. We brought in, there were at least 500 people here that evening. We brought in burger time to serve ice cream to all of the students and families. And that was a huge success. So we had a great turnout that night. The teachers, we didn't take official attendance in each class, but overall, they all projected they had about 75 to 80% of their students show up. So some higher than that, but not many lower. So really, we had a great turnout. We had our PBIS expectation rotation last Thursday, where the students rotated through different parts of the building to learn the expectations of that area. We had those staff members who supervise in those areas be the instructors during that time, so that the students are hearing from the people that are actually in that location, which helps out. So that is wonderful. And then we're getting those expectations posted in all of the areas of the building. So that is exciting. We have a master schedule this year that is different than previous master schedules. It was rather difficult to orchestrate, but it's really, really phenomenal. We've built in lots of additional time for students that need that additional time to be able to master the essential standards. So we have, if you're familiar with the RTI tiers, we have specific time for tier 1, 2, and 3 for ELA and math built into the schedule for every grade level. So it allows us to focus in on, even when we pull our students with special needs, they're not missing that core instruction that is really, really most important. So we're excited. It's a little tight and we're gonna have to work it for a while, but it's really a great start to the year. And that's really all that I have. Any questions?
You said there are 6 new staff.
Yes.
Who's the 6th one?
Sorry, our office manager. I cannot believe that I left her off the list. I'm so sorry. Yes, so our office manager, but yeah, we have a great group.
It's more of a comment, but we're sad to see that music being offered. My kids, as well as a few of the other parents I've talked to, they're really enjoying that new STEAM class that they're attending. So that was a good thought process behind that, since we couldn't fill our music position.
Absolutely. Miss Mayfield is doing a fabulous job. She's got a great Avid STEM curriculum that she's using to build onto, and the kids are loving it. Their gummy worm Fred got saved last week. It's very exciting.
Well, and 500 attending the
Yes.
Meet the Teacher thing. I drove by that night and I'm like, there is something going on.
Absolutely. Well, we served the ice cream first, and then they went to the middle school for tacos. So, it was a good night.
Any questions or comments for?
Thank you.
I guess ma'am's is next.
Board Superintendent. So we have about 166 students last year, about 155 students this year, decrease of about 10 students, all attributed to a lower incoming class and a larger outgoing class up to the high school. We picked up somewhere between 3 and 5 students that were going to other districts, or they were homeschooling or other things, and they've come back into our district, which is terrific. At the time of this writing, we had 2 students that we had not heard from yet. We now just have 1, and there are some special circumstances with that student. So we have tracked down and worked with all of the parents to make sure that they're in, and we've just got that 1 student we're waiting to hear on. Back to school night, we had about 250 folks there. My favorite thing of back to school night is to watch the parents. We pulled all the tables outside into kind of that courtyard area, and they stayed. And they talked, and it was a wonderful, wonderful evening. It was, given where COVID has been, it was just an awesome time to pull tables outside. Folks felt comfortable, had tacos, and just stayed and talked. So that was terrific to watch. We also, kind of my message as people came in is the building's open, everywhere is open every door. Look everywhere, please, please bring your families in, please see the school. We invited not just the 6th grade parents, as has been done in the past, we invited 7th and 8th also to join us. Partially because of COVID, but also partially, I just wanted to have folks come into the building and to get to know the building and get to know their teachers. First day with 6th graders was terrific. We have 39 6th graders. We only had one that was unable to attend. I made a home visit. He had just come back from an overnight trip to California, back here. Phenomenal day. What we did is we had the 6th graders run through their schedules in the morning. And then in the afternoon, we did some PBIS work. We did an assembly. We did some other things to help them get connected, both to the 6th grade teachers, but also to the 7th and 8th grade teachers in the school. All of the students now have their lockers and their Chromebooks. And I'd say today, I really felt like the rhythm of the building started to pick up significantly, which was terrific. I want to take just a second, switch gears and talk about something that I'm really proud of. We've already done this year. And we are renaming our accelerated math class to be Algebra 1. So we will be offering high school credit for an Algebra 1 class at the middle school. This was a collaboration between myself, Mr. Peterson, Superintendent Stuckey, and Kevin Arndt. I want to call him out specifically as we kind of went through the different possibilities there. There is a little bit of work still to be done. We need to have a parent meeting. We need to do some more communication on that. There are 14 kiddos in our Algebra 1 class.
Oh.
It's awesome to watch today. It's being taught by Kevin. It's the same curriculum, the same standards, the same instruction, the same assessments. Now, there is a little bit of a wrinkle that I learned from my prior district, and that's as you take a look at the valedictorian, salutatorian, sometimes they don't want to accept a 4-credit class. They'd really rather accept a 5-credit class. So we've thought through that, and they can accept, parent or guardian, the student can accept that Algebra 1 credit in their junior year or choose not to accept that credit. And that really gives parents and kids the choice as to whether they want to do that or not. We're super excited about that. The last thing is we need to build, and this is on the strategic plan as well, multiple pathways into that class. So that's the work that we'll do this year, so that as we go forward, we've got a summer program to get them in. We've got some accelerated opportunities to get them in. We'll have multiple pathways to reach them. That's what I had.
That's great. And how are you feeling with, first week under your belt?
I am so happy to be here. And the staff has been terrific. And I am finding that it takes me a little longer to do things and find things and forms, but I expected that to happen. And I am teaching a class. 7th period, I'm teaching an AVID class. So that is a ton of fun.
So cool.
And it keeps me grounded, keeps me connected. I've got 15 wonderful students there.
With regards to the Algebra 1,
Yes,
you said everything was the same. Is that the same curriculum as they're using at the high school?
so Kevin is teaching it at the high school, same curriculum at the high school.
So that's the same books that are student-led books? CPM books, yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Other questions?
That's not really a question, it's more of a comment. I commend you for that first day the 6th graders showed up, that you noticed somebody with them there and you immediately made a home visit. And I don't think a lot of administrators would have done that, but you did that. And I would just say, really appreciate that. Not only as a school board, but as a parent, going to check on our kids, where are they, and welcoming, like, we want you here.
every single morning I run a report, who's not here today. I either go get in, the transportation folks have been gracious enough to get me a van up there, and I either get in a van or I start making phone calls.
Thank you and welcome. Guy in the tie.
That's tough to follow right there. Holy cow. I do want to thank Mr. Taylor for bringing the point up about Algebra 1. When we think about student success at the high school in math, if you can get students on a higher track of math, they're going to do much better when it comes to state testing time. One of the things we recognize at my old district is kids that take Algebra 2 as juniors typically struggle with SBAC. But if you're beyond Algebra 2, so if you're taking pre-calc, those kids have got it. And the reality is that that SBAC math test is about half of Algebra 2's content. So that's why our juniors struggle if they're in Algebra 2. I'm so excited about having that opportunity for our kids to be at a higher level of math. And I can't wait to see that. I think my email back to them was, you want to see SBAC scores go through the roof? We do this. And so I commend you, Jeff, for doing that and getting us all together on that. JFK enrollment, we're at 222 at the time of this, at this time of this report, which is a lot. It's the most we've had since I've been here by far. Last year we were about 190. So we're about 30 more than we had last year, which is fantastic. I will also echo kind of what Jeff's doing. We have, and I'll talk more about this in a little bit with some of our new staff, but we're doing exactly the same thing. We know how important enrollment is, or not enrollment is, but attendance is. So we'll talk more about what Esmeralda is doing for us with regards to attendance. So new staff, we've got some new staff this year, and I don't know why I put Karishma Brooks as new staff, because she's not. She was down here last year. So please disregard that. Karishma's new to us at JFK. She's doing our SEL work. So we don't have a licensed counselor at the high school this year. So we split that up into two positions. One of those being SEL, student behavior, and that's Karishma. And the other one is Esmeralda Mraz, who came over to us from Silver Falls. She was doing exactly the same thing over there. Super excited to have both of them. Esmer just jumped right in and said, okay, let's start talking about attendance and where do I need to go and what vehicle can I use to go get these kids if they're not here. Love that, love the energy. She's already had her first senior meeting with kids, talking about FAFSA, scholarship opportunities because they're already coming out. What do they want to do? So it's really great to have that support. We have Lacey Davis as our new science teacher. Ms. Davis comes to us from 16 years at Canby High School. And interesting enough, she did her student teaching at JFK 17 years ago. So she knows about JFK. Then we have Nati Ortiz. She is working with Ms. Coons in the LRC. So super excited to have Nati here with us. So new to JFK, Jamie Jones. We've got a total of 7 newcomers in our building this year. And Jamie is teaching our ELD kids. So 5th period, they're all with us. They have an advisory period with Jamie, and then they go down to the middle school to work with the middle school kids too, 6th period, 7th period. So they're getting a lot of support, which is really super important. We have Mr. Schroeder at the high school for a period. We've got band back. I was in there this morning and they were just tuning instruments, and it was so nice to listen to not tuned instruments, but it was great. It was really great. It was good to hear music in the building again. And I would be remiss to say, if I didn't say something about Robert Anderson. He was our custodian, started about halfway through the year last year. Robert's done a phenomenal job, as well as all of our custodial staff, getting our schools ready and our classrooms ready. And I know they've just been working their tails off, and I can't thank Marty enough Marty Butts for leading that group. First week highlights. Well, probably on your sheet, it just says, hey, a cool vibe on our building. But there's more to it. I have to echo what Julieta said, same thing, and that probably Taylor might say the same thing. It is a good vibe in our building this year. we're back to some type of normalcy. The cafeteria is full at lunch. We only have one lunch, and it's good to be walking around, talking with kids. Seeing 6 or 7 kids sit at a round table and not knowing how 6 or 7 kids are sitting at that round table, but it's good to see them. Much like what Jasmine said too, we're all doing the creation of our school-wide expectations, not only creating, but the explicit teaching of those expectations. And what does that look like in people's classrooms? So that is PBIS, positive behavior intervention support. But it goes beyond that, because if we don't explicitly teach behavior, then we can't expect them to do what we want them to do, or what we'd like them to do. We think about the RTI pyramid, you've got academics on the one side and behavior on the other side, and they should be taught explicitly the same way, not necessarily the same way, but with about the same amount of time and passion. So we're doing those. I've got the first draft out for our posters. They're going to be going up on in our hallways and everywhere else to my guiding coalition to say, what do you think? Personally, I think we need to do some draft, some wordsmithing on some words, but I like the way it looks. And that also means that this week our folks, staff are working with our kids to take the school-wide expectations and put them in their classrooms. And what does be safe look like in your classroom? What does be on time look like in your classroom? Because it might look different in my room than maybe it does in Ms. Stuckey's room, or different than Mr. Taylor's room. So giving kids input and allowing them to help create those is super important for us. You've heard this, athletics have been going and going and going. I got to see a cross-country meet, well, kind of a cross-country meet, because you see them run away from you and then you see them run back to you. At State this weekend, there was a little bit of smoke out there. It was funny talking to Coach Richie, because he said, we came out here and ran this course on Monday, but they changed the course. So when they ran the course on Saturday, it was a different course. So they got to run through a creek, I always call it a creek, and I think everybody was pretty happy to be out there running. Football, as you heard, we won. We beat Saisla 24-0 on a very long trip down to near Florence. Volleyball's doing volleyball things. They had their first win the other day, which was fantastic. They've grown so much as a team this year from last year. And Miss Brooks is our head coach there, so she's doing a wonderful job. Also talking about the master schedule, we too also have built-in time for our tier 2 kids that need that extra support. So it wasn't anything that was out of the ordinary. We've always had advisory time, but we can use some of that advisory time 2 days a week to actually provide interventions and extensions for kids who need them. I think it's really important to talk about extensions, because what do we do with the kids that have already learned it? You just can't have them sit in the study hall class just doing nothing. So what does extensions look like for them? And we're working on that. And then my last bullet point that you guys don't have is, it's so nice to have music and drama back in our building. We actually have drama as well. Ms. Clark is teaching drama 7th period. She's got about 10 people that are in there, 10 kids that are in there. So it's really cool to see. Mr. Schroeder has about 15, I think, or 16 in band. Taylor and I were just talking about these things today, and she's like, I've got a list of kids who want to take culinary arts. What do we do next? So I love her passion about that. And it's like, okay, so let's slow down. So we had a great conversation around that too. So again, goes back to a super cool vibe in the building this year. I love it. I love it. So it's good. It's good.
I don't remember drama being at JFK.
That was something that came up on our strategic planning meetings. There was a lot of talk of that, as like, could we have drama, more fine arts?
Yeah.
And so we're if kids will forecast for it, we'll bring it back. We'll bring it. So
Kids used to put on a regular play all the time when I was in high school.
did they?
Every year, I mean, it wasn't a drama class.
More like a club.
More like a club.
Well, they'd say,
Or
this
after
is the
school.
play, come try out. Here's your sign, then you'd have your regular practice, everything.
It's really fun.
Every year.
Right now we're doing an individual project on a type of theater. And so we have to present that to the class, but she talked about possibly doing a play later on in the year.
Love it. Absolutely. That's all I've got for you.
Any questions? Thank you, Dale.
Thank you.
And Erica, there she is.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right, I think Christy has my presentation. You guys have it in your board packet too.
We do. It would be nice to.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Jill sent it to me right now.
Just gonna wait for it.
The audience just left, so having it for these esteemed guests is nice too, but we can get started, and then if it shows up, that would be great.
Okay,
All right.
that's fine. So I have 3 things to highlight for you. But obviously if you guys have other questions, you know, to hit me up for whatever you have questions about, since I have the benefit of being here mostly year round, things are kind of a constant flow of oh look, thank you, the end. I'm done.
Oh, yeah, we're sorry.
It was nice chatting. Okay, so but things that I thought you would want highlights on are summer school, how we're doing with our new House Bill 3499 team, because they're hired and up and running and doing some great things. And now that we have our counseling team, kind of how we're hitting the ground running. So I'm going to start with the summer school summary. So I don't know if it's Jill or Christy, but that's going to be the next one. So attendance is the next slide, as you can see, with only 2 exceptions being that first day and then the Thursday of week 3. With those 2 exceptions, attendance was actually really great for summer school. One thing I will say is that we actually had pretty low numbers overall compared to previous years. But the kids who we did have, they came just about every day. So attendance overall was really good. Any questions about attendance? I mean, it's broken down pretty good for you there. But the next one here, and the reason that I wrote simple up here for you is because, you know, in summer school, we only have them for, I mean, essentially 4 weeks. We have them for 5 weeks, but it's Monday through Thursday. And then we use the first couple days and the last couple days we use for assessment. And we use Easy CBM, which is K-8. And that's the formative assessment that, or the benchmark assessment that they use at St. Mary's as well. And so the reason that I wrote simple is because these aren't students that are usually in class together, and these aren't students that we're really able to put into some sort of intervention cycle. And so what we did is I looked at their pre-test and their post-test and looked at, did they grow or did not grow? Were they the same? And so it's a very oversimplistic analysis, if you will. Can't really call it an analysis, but really, you know, for attendance from our school, our goal has really been to look at, you know, are they maintaining? Now, have we gotten together to really look at how many points are we looking at? Would be, is this considered neutral? I didn't go that far. So it could be 1 point, could be positive growth, but in the same vein, 1 point lower would be negative, if that makes sense. So it was, it tilted both ways, both positively and negatively. And so it's a very oversimplification of that. And so I just want to be very fair in saying that this is not the like world's best data. We do have the raw data that is submitted to teachers as far as, you know, where they finished, and looking at, you know, a breakdown to know how did this particular student do, which would help, you know, to know where they ended, what was maybe their trend. But certainly looking at this is not a really great picture of that. But I know there's some questions on this, so.
I have a question, Erica.
Yeah.
Is there a way to track the students throughout the year of this coming school year, that now that they had that intervention, to see if that has helped or, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. So this will actually be our first year that we will continue with Easy CBM. So, well, the like K2 used it last year, but now at least K6 will have the same sort of benchmark. And this was the first group where they actually took it in June. And it was kind of funny. So I was a little bit of a stickler. They were like, well, why would we give it again? I'm like, well, because, you know, when they started in the middle of July, I'm like, because they've had 6 weeks off. So we want to make sure to see, so we can kind of look at that pattern, right, for some of our kids, because we're really targeting some of these kids who they were in summer school, some of them, because we're looking at students who are maybe not responding to intervention. And so really analyzing that data. So now we have 3 data points. We have June, July, August, and now September. So this will be their 4th data point.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Yeah, for sure. And I would add, because summer school certainly does not replicate the entire school experience, but I think, you know, to your point, Director, it's really looking at, okay, so we have June, we did have a gap, we had some level of intervention, right, with these 2 data points, and then a September data point. You know, did that make a difference compared to, you know, we usually see in most kids some level of regression. For those of you who have been in the classroom, we know we spend a lot of time on academic and behavioral, some level of reteaching, right, of expectations and content in September. Did that make a difference compared to what we have seen previously for these students?
Yeah, when I saw these numbers, I emailed Erica. Because just looking at this data, it's pretty concerning when,
right,
you know, you look at ELA, 20 students showed positive growth, but you have 26 total, you know, that showed negative growth. And then you look at your math and you have 17 that showed positive and 30 that showed negative. So how are we using this data?
Right.
I asked, you know, to analyze what were some practices that maybe we can improve on for next summer school. And Irene kind of did that. What are we gonna do now in September and keep that going? And so overall, I think attendance, that was a really positive thing for summer school. Attendance was great. The data, hopefully we can learn from this and kind of implement different things possibly for next year.
Will you be looking at the students' overall academic growth this coming year of those that had summer school, just to see if that kind of gave them the boost or it really didn't give them, besides the test, just to see how in comparison to the other students in their peer group or their cohort, you know?
Yeah, I mean, if I were a principal, that would be something that I would be looking at.
Oh, okay. I think they all shook their heads yes on that.
I'm not there, but I would think that that would be really important data, because this would be, you know, that September would be that 4th data point, right? And you know, when I emailed Director Fow back, it's really looking at, this is just one more component in that response to intervention cycle, which is what we're now entering, right? And so summer school is not meant to replace the school year. It's a supplemental piece. And so this is just an important data set, but to look at this, I totally agree, it's very concerning, but to look at it by student, which the principals have access to, it's going to be important to look at that by student to determine, is this an appropriate intervention? So we're not just randomly selecting students to see, is this an appropriate intervention? So then we can decide at the district level as a board and as the superintendent and myself, is this something that we want to invest our resources in?
The good news is each of the schools has created a period of intervention, a tiered intervention, so they can continue to monitor or have those kids slip right into that intervention
Yes.
cycle.
Yes, and they'll know exactly where they left off in August.
Right.
Yes. I'm sorry, I just, for this, it was the easiest way to get like a quick summary with maintaining some level of anonymity. With small N sizes, it's really, really hard. And I knew that I would have the opportunity to explain, but I agree, Director Pfau, it looks really terrible. That's why I put simple up there in hopes that I would have the opportunity to explain. So thank you for allowing me that opportunity.
And thanks for getting back to me with those questions. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Of course. Okay. Summer camps, nothing really to say other than they're great. Families love them, kids love them. They fill up quickly, kids attend. The hard part is finding staff who will run them. And so again, I just would, no decisions to be made tonight, but something for the board to consider, as we look forward to, is this something that, because we've been paying for them with ESSER funds, is this something that the district wants to continue to offer? There's a list of what we offered this year.
Were they totally free to students? Okay,
Yes.
that's the.
And we offered transportation. And we paid staff and purchased materials for 2 years now.
Wow.
But they fill up within a couple days. They're quick to fill up. Yeah. So something to just put on the radar for, 10 months from now.
Erica, sorry, something.
No, go ahead.
About is like, if we were to have students potentially pay for them, what would be the cost of each camp? So that we can kind of gauge the interest on that as well. They may.
That's something that Christy and I could get to you pretty easily.
Yeah, I mean, not now, but down the road. Yeah.
Right. Not tonight, but.
Or not next month even.
No.
We got a lot more things to do.
Yeah, it's the summer school that's actually the most costly portion of everything. But honestly, the bigger, the cost is one thing, but recruiting staff who will do something for 1.5 to 2 hours, because not everybody lives here in Mount Angel, to make it worth their time is something else to consider. So. But something to think about, certainly researching the costs and thinking of creative ways is something. Okay. So House Bill 3499 work. I just want to put a couple things out there for us to be thinking about. Most of you have been in education. If not, if this isn't your first role, many of you have been in education in other capacities for a while. The next slide, you've seen or heard this, that we need to Maslow before Bloom. So that's actually a lot of the work that we've been doing. The next slide shows the two pyramids side by side. So we, as the ELL team, have been working quite a bit on the Maslow side of things. With this as our operating assumption, the philosophy here that we really cannot get to these other pieces. We need to work through this Maslow pyramid of needs really before we can get over to Bloom's. There is a little bit of overlap, as many of you already know, but until some of these basic needs are met, it's going to be really difficult for some of our students. And so this is where like our family engagement specialist has been spending quite a bit of time. And so we'll get to those slides, but for example, Jeff has been doing home visits. I've been doing home visits. Will and Teresa have been doing home visits. When we go there, it's, hey, what are some of the barriers for these families? And that's in this physiological safety and some of the social belonging pieces that this grant has allowed us to really try to connect with families to figure out what's missing, what's getting in the way of you accessing your education at the most basic level. And that's really helping us build trust with families. So we're really just starting to do that, and this grant is really allowing us to do that. So on the next slide, you'll see it's just a reminder of some of our goals. Teresa, who is our family engagement specialist, is, oh my gosh, her and Will, they are rock stars. They have such initiative, they have vision, and they can just run with it. They can just pop on my office with like, hey, I made this connection and I'm doing this, and they're great. We have like a full food bank going already, the basement in JFK. We've got school supplies and clothes, and our food services team now has universal breakfast. So we're really just trying to hit it from all sorts of angles. And so I really just wanted to let you guys know, just from a philosophical point of view, kind of, where we're starting, because until families trust us and have a relationship, if they're on that edge about, will I send my kid to school or will I not? Once they feel like they trust us, then they'll be more apt to feel like, okay, the school's going to take care of my kids because they've taken care of us in this way. Questions?
No.
Okay, and counseling, if you want to go 2 slides. And I don't need to go over all of this because y'all can read, and I've already taken up a lot of time. But I just wanted to outline and maybe point out a few things. So in the counseling world and social emotional, we're really focusing on the 5 CASEL competencies. So if you don't know what those are, I encourage you to look those up. That can be your board homework tonight. And I also then in the middle, the middle section is very much like, this is for the counselor. That's the ones on the outer columns are really for everyone, but the counselors might be doing some of the guiding and the organizing. And then, since I know you guys like to have your numbers, I tried to put some together, but please know, like, it's the beginning of school. So these are like low because we don't have everybody in. But next slide. So far in SPED, we have 91. Of the 91, there are 8 students attending out of district. Well, there's one other, but coded a little differently. Anyway, those are students that I case manage. We have 15 plus 2 others in process for 504, 9 on tag plan. You can see the breakdown in ELs. So the 83 active ELs does not include any new registrants. So that doesn't include our newcomers. That does not include our kinders, because that takes a little time to go through the identification process. Something that I do want to highlight is we have 8 newcomers this year. Newcomers are students who are newly arrived from another country whose primary home language is a language other than English. This is like a new and exciting challenge for us. On an average year, we have like a couple. So we were a little bit overwhelmed. That first, like right before school started, when we had like several, and then like the next day we had a few more, and the next day a few more. And they are in grades 1 through 12. And so I'm really, really thankful that we have Will Holman, our ELD TOSA, who's really helping us, like, figure out programming. Because this is like, okay, how do we build something that's sustainable to serve newcomers, whatever grade they come in at. So it's exciting, and it's something that we just have never experienced before, at least.
Yeah, Erica, what are the languages of the newcomers? Are they all Spanish speaking, or are there other languages as well?
They're all Spanish. They're not all from Mexico. We do have a couple other like foreign exchange students, but they don't count in the newcomer.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Just curious.
I have a question on the tag. We only have 9 kids identified as tag in our district.
Yep.
That's like super low.
It is really low.
That's like almost non-existent low. How do we, what's the plan for how do we identify, or what grades do we do tag identification in, or?
Yeah. So the plan at this point is right now, my plan is working with the elementary school, because I think through the last couple of years, we assessed a couple kids. So without having SBAC scores and without having MAP scores, that was a little bit more difficult for identifying kids unless we did standardized assessments, which we did do on a couple of kids, if we really thought perhaps they were talented and gifted. And so hopefully now that we are back to having other like multiple measures, right? We're going to have ECCBM at the secondary. I think they're going to use MAP. I'm not sure, but we'll have those. And then SBAC, we can get back to that. But we have Cameron Thompson is going to be our tag leader this year. And I meet with him every 3 weeks.
And I'm not familiar, is Cameron at the district level or at school level?
So the tag leader role is a district level role. He's an elementary school teacher, but it's a district level role. So I oversee tag. He and I will meet every 3 weeks as we kind of figure out some of these pieces that are missing, because there are some huge holes as far as obviously identification. There's some other pieces to pick up. But yeah, identification, especially at the elementary school, is one of them.
Right, or middle school or high school. Are these all 9 elementary kids, or are they K?
I don't know that I can share that just because of confidentiality.
Okay. So we're working on tag. Yes.
Like I said, I have meetings with him every 3 weeks.
Any other questions? And one thing that I would say about tag and what's in it for the kids who are identified as tag, right? And I think the extensions through RTI are going to be a huge boost to those kids that need more. So I'm really excited about that piece of it. It's all tying together. So anyway.
Yes, and a big part of our focus is going to be on potential to perform. So even looking at our students who are identified as a very homogeneous group. And so looking at potential to perform. So how can we expand who may fit the criteria for tag? And so again, working with Cameron on that to again develop, how do we train our staff? But we need to look at a couple things, but identification is one of a couple pieces.
Any other questions or comments on this slide? Okay.
That's it for me. I try to narrow it down because if I did all the things, I would be up here all night.
Well, thank you, Erica.
Of course, you know how to email me. All right, thanks, guys.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Erica.
Thank you.
Moving on to budget report. That would be Kristen.
Okay, so this first report is for the food service fund. Like I said, last meeting is our first year of going through a normal food service program. So it'll be really interesting to see after the first few months what all of this looks like, because we are used to just getting reimbursed at the federal level. And so as a reminder, this report, how it's done is the summer months are all combined. So July and August are combined for period 1. And then really the period 3 for September is when we'll really get to see how things are going to shake out. So our total reimbursement through the end of August for federal reimbursement was $32,895. And we have had through the end of August, $422 in funds put onto people's mealtime accounts. Since then, I can say that there's been quite a bit added because I get an email every time somebody adds to their account. We are on track right now, revenue at about 93% to goal. And then expenditures are really low over the summer because our summer school grant pays for part of those salaries. So you can see right now our primary expenses in July and August were a little bit of salaries and benefits and then food supplies. So again, next month is going to be when we can kind of see what kind of trends we'll be setting. So right now projected month-end fund balance of $57,230. So again, our expenses are about 85% to goal, but next month will be a real look at that. Any questions on this report at all?
Is November usually the time you finally see like federal money? Is that why you look at the revenues? Federal reimbursement is so large compared to.
No, so this, I didn't change these numbers yet. And so it was just the way it worked out. It's supposed to come every month. But if the reporting, they changed the reporting last year. And so I think we got behind by like a month. And so we got a large amount, but so it should come every month. Okay, so let's stop that. Okay, so this is general fund financial summary. And again, that, like I said, next month it's going to be, we'll really be able to see what we did in terms of estimating salaries and benefits. Now that we have, the employees in the building, that'll be our first big paycheck going out. But so through August 31st, you can see what revenue we brought in. We got some taxes, prior taxes. We got quite a bit in August. And some little bit of rental income. And what I'm really excited about is interest. We haven't been traditionally getting very much in interest. And, usually it's like less than $1,000. And our interest has gone up quite a bit because the treasury has increased our rate so much. So that's a little bit of income that we don't normally get. I mean, it's not a lot, but still makes me excited. And then the state school fund, this is 3 actually, almost 3 months of state school fund that has come in, and then we have the common school fund, and then there has not been any other grants that have come in. So our total monthly revenues through the end of August without the beginning, well, including the beginning fund balance is $1,306,950. And so right now we are on track about 100% to goal. Again, once we get to next month, I will make these estimates based on what we see for next month. And then expenditures, it's pretty light right now just because of salaries and we don't pay all of our staff until September. So you can see salaries and benefits were the biggest part of that, getting the supplies for the beginning of the year, and paying some of our initial things to like Willamette ESD. We pay our insurance at the beginning of the fiscal year, so that's where that large amount is. It's safe and our property insurance. And then that 93,000 interfund transfer, that is to pay our yearly QZAP or our bond bill, so our contribution for that. So expenditures year to date 757,030. So right now we're sitting good. And next month, like I said, you'll see a better picture of what's to come in terms of how well we budgeted. So, any questions on this?
Thank you, Christy.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on to our superintendent's report. Take it away.
Okay. Well, good evening, Chair Weedman and members of the board. Tonight, for the superintendent's report, we'll be looking more closely at enrollment, a brief review of in-service week, Division 22 status from almost 2 years ago now, summer facilities improvement report, and a strategic plan update. So I'm going to start with, before you look at this, I would like to draw your attention to page 2 of the actual board packet. Because we are up 32 students from a year ago at this time, which is great news. And I believe this actually changed again today. I'll be monitoring enrollment for at least the next 2 weeks and it will continue to fluctuate, hopefully in a positive direction. So there's that. And then in terms of transfers out of Mount Angel, these are not the total transfers out. These are the new transfers that came in. For example, last year we had 19 applications come in to request going out to Silver Falls. This year it was only 11. Virtual school, last year we had 10, this year 9. Private school, we had 1, this year 2. Homeschool, I'm considering transfers out. We had 57 last year, 41 this year. That doesn't mean that they all came here. They just are somewhere other than registered at the ESD. And then in other districts, last year we had 2 that requested out, and this year as well. But quite a change in there between 89 out last year and 65 this year. Any questions on that? Okay. So transfers in. Last year we had 10 transfers in from Silver Falls, this year 12. Virtual schools, private schools, and homeschools are a little bit different to track because we can't quantify it yet because cumulative records are still in transit from a lot of places. And until we get those, it's not necessarily recorded. So this is our best guess right now that our virtual schools, they're not actually to Mount Angel, but it's just a way of tracking that there were 10 last year, 9 this year. Last year, we knew that we had 1 coming in from private schools. This year, we know we have 6 for sure, but it could be more because again, it's not a formal form that they fill out saying, hey, we're coming from private school until we get those records requests in and they're fulfilled. Homeschool, we know that this year we've had confirmation just through conversation with parents that 2 homeschool families have returned. And then transfers to Mount Angel from other districts, last year 11, this year 9. And those are the totals at the bottom. Questions on enrollment? Some good news.
It's only good news.
Yeah. In-service week mirrors very much what our administrators at our 3 schools talked about. I'd like to talk just a bit about our all-district gathering, being able to have the opportunity to return to normalcy felt and looked really wonderful. As Mr. Peterson said, it was good vibe. So we had the opportunity to introduce all new staff, to get back to service recognition.
spend time on a theme of a time to rise, a time to move forward. And it was really great to have staff pictures again. It's been 3 years probably since that had happened. So that was the staff gathering that took place.
And I did notice the middle school t-shirts.
Yes.
That was good.
Oh, really?
Very sharp.
Right on.
Creating high school ones.
Just not in time for the staff pictures. That's all right.
That same morning, after our all district gathering, we had all district training with standard response protocol with Sergeant Charlie Hall for about an hour. And I got really good feedback from staff members who also happen to be parents in this district, feeling very comfortable to know that we're focusing on this, we're addressing it, and there's going to be a plan and a rollout for this. And then standard always the essential trainings that happen on a rotating basis for staff for student health updates and first aid CPR. Questions? All right, Division 22 update. The interesting thing about Division 22 is it's always from the year before, not the current year. And so this is from 2020, 2021. And as you probably are very aware, we were out of compliance in a big way, not having a media center at JFK, but we are now in compliance. For human sexuality curriculum, this was specific to St. Mary's. We are now in compliance. Our required instructional time, this was the same issue that most districts ran into because it was during COVID. It applied to the entire district and it was a result of scheduling that was related to COVID. We couldn't offer class every day, all day for our students, but we are now in compliance. Okay. Now let's look forward because Division 22 is coming up next month. So Division 22 reporting, oh, that should say 22, 23. My apologies for that. Will be coming to the board for your approval next month. And the process is as such. The reporting is for last year. By November 1st, I need to report Division 22 compliance to you, but we will not have a school board meeting in time in November, so it will happen in October for you. By November 1st, I need to make sure that we have posted a community report on our school district website. And by November 15th, districts must complete and submit the standards assurance form to the Oregon Department of Education. So lots of work to do in the next month to have that report ready for you and for the standards assurances and community report as well. Questions? Okay. All right, summer facilities improvement projects. I spent the most time on these 3 slides than I did on all the other slides for this report. And just on a very positive related side note, I had talked with one of you in the last couple of weeks, and you'd mentioned that in your walks around the facilities, you're really seeing a marked difference in how things are looking. And I think this is one of the reasons why, and that is because our facilities director and his outstanding crew have worked incredibly hard to tackle a long list. So these are some of the things, most of the things, but not all of them that got tackled this summer. Tree trimming, including trees that were growing into roofs and gutters. So now that the trees are down, our limbs, we need to repair some roofs. Parking lot restriping, recess equipment repair. The swing sets out here needed to be repaired and replaced. Gutters cleaned, field goal posts repainted. Organization and cleaning of storage under the grandstands.
There must have been some amazing finds.
There were some amazing finds, none of them very positive.
No. No, nothing that you can probably profit from.
No, which led to furniture surplus of rusty and dismantled pieces of furniture that would not be helpful for anybody. And finally, the JFK concession stand has plumbing that works. Continuing, repair of kitchen refrigeration system at JFK. Our HVAC systems have needed a lot of time and attention. motor and pump replacement, repiping for water condensation that was going all over floors at all 3 schools, coil cleaning and control systems. Repair to hot water heaters at JFK and MAMS. The St. Mary's Kitchen had an AC system that was not working and stove exhaust that also was not working, so those have been repaired. Fire, life, and safety maintenance, which happens every summer. Security alarm maintenance. And make sure to evaluate all the first aid stations. Exhaust fan repair. Annual safety inspections at all 3 schools. Plumbing repairs to fixtures and drinking fountains. Tractor and mower repair. Lighting repair and replacement. Connectivity wiring upgrade and additional data and ceiling ports in rooms in the north hallway at St. Mary's here. Rekeying of doors and door repair at MAMS. That was a huge one. And we feel much better now about safety and security there. And then last but never least, lots of irrigation repairs this summer to pumps and main lines. So that's a lot of work that has gone on this summer, and I believe it shows.
Very impressive. All good.
Does anyone have questions about that list?
No, just Marty's done a lot since he's joined, so it definitely shows.
And I did comment to Marty specifically how impressed I am with how things are looking, and he was taken aback. He doesn't hear positive feedback very often, so he was quite excited to hear something, and it wasn't a complaint at all. It wasn't a you're doing great, but it was just you're doing great. So that was a nice reaction.
Excellent. The rekeying of the doors and MAMS. Can the doors be locked from the inside or just the outside?
I'm not certain of that, but I will find that out.
I just asked that because that's the one building you have to go outside to lock it, if there was an emergency or, lockdown, that kind of thing, so. I will ask. Would be nice if they could just.
This is just a wondering of mine.
Yeah.
As I only come to this school, I don't really go to the other 2 schools because my kids are here. If power washing St. Mary's is on the list of eventual to do, like the to-do list. You don't have to answer that question. That's
I'm just
wondering I
curious,
have.
particular areas that you're considering, just like sidewalks and such, or
The building
sides,
itself.
or the building itself. Sounds like it might be time for that.
Eric, I just sent a message and said outside only locking doors at man. So
What was that? I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
man, so just only lock from the outside.
Outside only.
Outside of.
Thank you, Jill. Other questions on the work of the crew, facilities crew?
Very busy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, and lastly, a strategic plan update. We have, as you see up on the visuals up there, we have 4 priority areas with a total of 15 measurable indicators and or commitments, whichever you prefer to call them. But within each of those 15 indicators, there may be more than one SMART goal that goes with them because there are a lot of different things that we could measure. So you can expect to have quite a list of SMART goals that aligns with the 15 commitments. The measurements are currently being identified by the administrative team. These are some possible examples. Number of students referred for student success team, number of students moving in and out of interventions, number of students by race taking AP courses, equity, diversity, and inclusion agendas and minutes, parent and student surveys. There's just a lot to choose from. We just want to make sure that it is measurable. And then finally, the SMART goals for each indicator will be complete in time for the October school board meeting. So that is your strategic plan update. Any questions? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you to all the administrators. Mr. Peterson.
I have an announcement. Kevin Moffett just texted me and said our soccer team, our boys soccer team, won their first match.
Oh my God.
So he doesn't expect that there'll be many wins, but this was the first. So it was
Nice.
against Portland Christian, so I just wanted to make sure that you're all aware.
Very good.
He's pretty excited.
Yeah, very exciting.
Any board member reports? Nope. All right, moving on. Has anybody signed up for public forum? You guys have a chance.
Make
Thank
sure
you.
I'm walking the fence.
All right, moving on to action items. We don't have any, which is kind of exciting. Discussion items, so board work sessions, just, yeah,
Don't need it.
yeah.
Okay, so as I had reported last week, my recommendation is that we look at safety and facilities for a work session in October. And then in November would be the school improvement plans, because our administrators and their teams have until the end of October to finish the SIPs. So those are two recommendations. And I would like you to consider maybe December being for a bond, looking at bond information. I don't want to wait any longer. So those are some thoughts for your consideration. I'd just like to put those out there for your discussion tonight.
Sounds good.
Good idea.
Yeah, and September, remember next week, it's about
Right.
board goals.
Right.
And March PLCs.
March-ish, yeah.
So I believe when I had talked with Jill about this, we have not selected dates and times yet for anything beyond September. Is that correct? So that is something that we should be discussing.
Do we want to at least schedule October? Do we know, I don't have kids in school anymore, so my weekdays are pretty clear for the most part, but do we want to try to schedule October and November? What do we think?
Yes.
Get it done?
What was the suggested topic? Remember, did we say that?
School improvement plans, SIPs,
Or in October was
was
Safety and security.
yeah.
My only request for October is no Tuesday, Thursday, please.
Could we stay with the same, like if we meet on Mondays, could we do like Monday and then board meeting and then like in a stay with Monday in a couple of weeks or something a little more consistent? Would that,
Sure.
you know,
Sure, it's fine.
That's my word.
you know, this way we know like
Mondays
this
are-
Mondays
Like the
are,
second and the fourth.
right, I don't,
Yeah.
yeah, right, yeah.
So the third or fourth Monday would be your
I'm-
work session,
I'm
because the
open
second
to-
Monday is
yeah,
board meetings.
Versus like, I know we're gonna meet next week on a Tuesday. And so that kind of consistency, yeah,
So that puts us at the 17th or the 24th for October, both Mondays.
I am out of town the 17th. Maybe. I'm actually taking a vacation, super excited. But it's okay if I miss one.
Will you be here for either, Sherry?
I'm looking at I will not be here for either of those, which is fine.
Anyone else have an objection to either day?
I do not.
Fine,
You know,
either one.
What do we want?
I could do the 26th of October, but I can't do
the 25th is a Tuesday,
26th of the Wednesday.
or Wednesday.
But yeah, just keep it on that Monday. I'm fine missing one.
So do we want to do 17th, right, the next week after, or, and given the presentations that we'll need to be doing, will the 17th be too much for you to put together?
Yeah, to put
Having board meeting
together.
the week
Do we
before?
want to have like,
It would be nice to have two.
I think
meetings.
Okay.
staggered
Yeah.
each other.
yeah, staggered,
It's the 24th then.
the 24th,
Thank you.
then November,
14th is the board meeting.
yeah,
Jeez,
Yeah, the next week is
waiting.
Thanksgiving.
it's Thanksgiving.
So do you want to do the 28th?
28th, would not be. That'd be 2 weeks between.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
28th.
And does that put us in time? No, we can talk about in November.
SIPs.
Okay, so that's probably fine.
All right.
What day in November?
28th.
28th.
You said,
December might be more challenging. I don't think. we can
Well,
keep it
yeah,
on Monday.
maybe we just, It's the work sessions are at 6:30, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. December. Maybe we.
In December, we have the 12th is our board meeting. And we already have a work session on the 28th. And then that's.
It's
then
Christmas
close.
time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It might
So
be
we don't
like-
do December?
Yeah, we just do one thing in December.
Well, what if we did the Monday before the board meeting?
The 5th.
So we have 2 work sessions in a
They're
row.
close. I mean, November 28th.
I mean,
The 5th,
But that would be 2
2
Mondays.
weeks together,
Be
28
3
next week.
I think it's the
What,
facilities.
what if, here's a crazy idea, what if on the 12th, we put them together? A work session before and then a board meeting
You
after.
could do that.
I just,
can she make it?
I have a hard time doing,
you
Right.
can really.
I work till 6 usually, which, but I mean,
I think it would be just going later. It's versus you could start like at 6 and go late. Yeah, you could.
It's a pretty hefty topic.
It is. a
yeah,
heavy
I
topic,
just,
though.
I worry about.
So do we need to pick a different day other than Monday for
A different day
What
of the
about the
week for
14th?
December.
December, what?
What about December 14th? Is that,
I'm okay
is
with
anybody
Yeah.
close to that?
Okay.
No, you don't want Tuesdays and Thursdays at all?
I was just.
I was just asking that for not for the month of October.
Oh, for the month of October,
Yeah.
because Tuesdays and Thursdays were better for me, generally speaking, but.
It's not, I won't, well, a Tuesdays doesn't always work for me.
Okay.
Of another
Let's just do the,
board commitment.
what about the 14th?
the 14th, but that puts it 3 days after a board meeting for Rachel.
That's
you.
tough.
I think it will, because by that point I will have a specialist who will be in talking with you.
So
I
that
really
works.
won't be leading much.
Yeah, I think the bond one, I feel like that would be okay to have it just 2
Okay,
days.
so the 14th.
Well, and then your tax rate has gone up, all your information has gone out to public.
Yeah. 14th, all right.
And we want to stick with 6 PM for those meetings. The Jill,
Are we doing 6 or 6?
Were they six?
What was
I think they're 6.
is it 6? What did you just send us?
6:30, do we want
That's
to change it to 6?
No,
6:35.
6:35. Okay, it's just fine.
Are we only doing the 14th? Or are we doing the 12th and the 14th?
12th 's the board meeting.
Anything else in work session?
Does that work for you most times?
I mean,
Mostly.
I don't have the schedule. I'm only worried about wrestling because I'm the manager, but it's not a huge deal if anything comes up. Generally, most of the time they're Fridays and like on weekends, but I don't have that, so I don't know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And the Tuesday, Thursday thing works fine because we have pep band practice after school, but it's like way before the meeting even happens.
All right, okay, so we have our next 3, we're on next 4 work sessions.
Mhm.
Good, good, good. And then final discussion item is policy committee.
Yes,
Back
so
on track.
Jill has prepared a nice pile of new policies that need to be reviewed. And I would love to have at least one member work with me on that.
I'm okay continuing.
Oh, thank you.
that's nice.
Well, Thank you,
Last
Teresa.
year, so.
And we have had 2, so if we want, if the second board member wants to volunteer,
I'd like to look at some of the policies.
The question I would ask as we see the red line versions and what's proposed is delineating, is this OSBA proposed language or is this what the law is requiring us to change to?
OSBA uses the law in their.
Right, but I
proposal.
think sometimes there's been cases in the past where this is what OSBA wants us to change, but it's not like written in law. We came across that last year. Even that too.
What was it? I don't remember either.
The question was, is this what OSBA is proposing as an advancement of policy, or is this what they're writing in as part of Oregon law?
I
Makes
think
sense.
sometimes it's both. I mean, it depends on what the policy is, what the law is. And then there's always the option when OSBA provides proposed language, we still get to choose
Yeah.
what their
I was just
proposed
gonna say
language
there's
is.
multiple When we had
versions.
questions before, you'd say, okay, I will check into that.
All I can tell you is it's a really nice pile. Trees.
Is it on all?
Yeah, that seems about right.
All our policies are online,
All that current policies.
Adopt.
Current.
adopted. Okay, so it's looking at the current versus, okay.
It's back as everything too. I think I printed all required, recommended and optional, right? I
Yeah.
think we printed everything.
Well, I guess maybe that's was the thing, is the
I was gonna
recommended
say, that's
version.
kind of what I was thinking. You see, you said that like required would be obvious, right?
Yeah.
That would be law.
If we
In my
want to be,
mind.
abiding by the law.
We've been sticking with what is required rather
Yes.
than what is recommended. Because that, well, there are twice as many to look at if we look at what's recommended, but we can.
Or at least understanding as we look at those, is this a recommended or required?
Yeah, we can do that.
Either color or,
Okay.
I don't know, however, it's whatever you use.
So
And
far,
on
it's
the
only
policy
been,
update page, we have that main policy update page that says right next to it, every single one that's required, recommended or optional.
well, maybe we can put that in the board packet.
Yeah, I can just
As
share
we look
that.
at policy.
That
Can't I?
Yeah.
Can I?
Oh, yeah.
Anything else on policy? So you have two members for the policy committee.
Who else?
Irene said.
Thank you.
Too, so, yes.
Just know I'll never be able to do Mondays. Probably Wednesday, well, I'm gonna probably not be working at the Christmas store forever, but right now.
We'll have to figure that out.
I will be in touch with both of you.
Yes.
Well, thank you for agreeing to take
Yeah,
that
thank
on.
you.
And that said, let's say meeting's adjourned.
Let's see. All day Wednesday.